Hey there everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well folks, I only have 3 more blogs left to make before my vacation to New York City, and this blog is going to be something really insane, but in a good way. You see, during the late June of this year, my little sister Sabrina, who last year helped me blog Into the Woods, went on an educational trip to London, England, and I decided to blog a movie with a pretty similar premise. Before she gets home on August 8th, that is. So, without further ado, released on August 15th, 2008, the movie is Wild Child. So, let's get started. Ever since Malibu brat Poppy Moore's mom passed away, she has pushed her rich, usually absent dad Jerry shamelessly. When his patience wears out, she shipped off to her mother's former English boarding school for girls, Abbey Mount. On her first day, she makes enemies of most dorm mates, especially dominant lacrosse school captain Harriet and staff disciplinarian Mrs. Kingsley. Unwilling to accept the strict regimen, she decides to misbehave and take the blame for everyone until she's dismissed. The school's only appearing feature for her is Kingsley's dashing son, Freddie. When the Dream Prince transfers his favor from Ambitious, things start to change for Poppy. So, what do I think of this movie? Well, I thought it was really hilarious and crazy, but mostly mild and a tad emotional. And I love every bit of this film. But in order to explain more information, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, the interiors of the boarding school were filmed at Cobham Hall in Kent. They also filmed it at Haworth in West Yorkshire, and the facade of the school was filmed at Balls Park. I also learned that the person who wrote the screenplay for this film is Lucy Dow, the daughter of British children's novelist Roald Dahl. Kinda interesting, huh? Now, about Abbey Mount, while it is an old school that was founded in the late 1700s, I can say that by watching this film, it has strict rules, and if the rules are ever broken or anything like that happens, the person responsible will have to be presented to the honor court, which is kind of like a hearing or a trial. Also, the school does show a few classes throughout the movie, like art, French language lab, swimming, and lacrosse, which does become a main plot point in this film. They even have a computer lab, which is the only place in the school for internet use. What's more is that on certain nights, they have fire drills where all the students gather out in the front of the school. Now, this film may seem like your average chick flick, but to me it's much more than that. The movie can also be identified as a coming-of-age film. Now, there are several other things I like in this film. For example, other than the lacrosse games, there is a shopping montage and a school dance party. And there are several times where outrageous and hilarious humor happen, even though some of it is a tad mean-spirited and disgusting. I also like the certain English scenery in the movie, which almost reminds me of the time back in summer 2010 when me and my family went on vacation in England. Well, now that we're done with Mustang notes, let's move on to the characters and their actors. Our wild child, Poppy Moore, is played by Emma Roberts, known for being in films like Valentine's Day, Nancy Drew, and The Flight Before Christmas. She also got to act as Jill Roberts, aka Ghostface, in Scream 4, and she also starred in We're the Millers. Anyway, Poppy starts out as a spoiled teenager living in Malibu, but she does improve into a better person as the movie goes on. Plus, she does make a great lacrosse captain, just like her late mother was. Poppy's roommates, Kate, Drippy, Josie, and Kiki, are played by Kimberly Nixon, Juno Temple, Lindsay Cocker, and Sophie Wu. Now, these girls are awesome. Not only do they make great new friends for Poppy, but they also do their best to help Poppy get out of Abbey Mount by pulling off some crazy pranks and hooking up with Freddy. More on him later. They even take Poppy into town to get her hair turned from blonde to brunette. Next we have Mrs. Kingsley, the head mistress of Abbey Mount, played by the late Natasha Richardson, whom I only remember from the 1998 Parent Trap remake. Anyway, Mrs. Kingsley is a very nice character in my opinion. She tries to help Poppy fit in at the school. Plus I find it funny that the door on the inside of her office is disguised as a bookcase. Next up is Mrs. Kingsley's son, Poppy's love interest, and my favorite character, Freddie Kingsley, played by Alex Pettifer, who got to be in Magic Mike. Now, this guy is forbidden to fraternize with any of the girls at the school. But what I like about him is that he's witty and sarcastic. And even though Poppy was, well, at first using him so she could get kicked out of Abbey Mount, I like the scene where he and Poppy dance at the dance party, and later on when they go on a date together. Finally, we come to Harriet Bentley, the head girl of Abbey Mount, played by Georgia King. Now, Harriet is our villain for this movie. She takes her job as head girl very seriously, and she does take a dislike to Poppy at first sight to her. What she does to humiliate Poppy is to throw dirty laundry water onto her from the window, but later things got worse when she went onto Poppy's email and re-edited each message saying bad things about Freddy and her roommates. And she even used Poppy's lighter to set a fire to the school. The rest of the cast includes Shelby Young, Aidan Quinn, Lexi Ainsworth, Eleanor Turner Moss, Ruby Thomas, Nick Frost, Daisy Donovan, Jason Watkins, and Shirley Henderson. Yeah, Mooney Myrtle is in this film. What a surprise. Well, let's move on to my final words. Overall, Wild Child is one heck of an outrageous movie. It has a decent coming-of-age message. The characters are all great, though one doesn't start out as much. Most of the humor is hilarious, and the sets and scenery are spectacular. Now, this is one film I wouldn't suggest for younger kids to watch, but mostly only for those over the age of 13 should at least give this film a chance. And I'm sure you guys will have a great time with it. I give this film a rating of 89% out of 100. Well, that's all for today, folks. Be sure to join me for my next blog, because I have a very special blog in mind for my mother's birthday coming up. Mustang Power.